All right, everybody, welcome back. We've got more to say on Nehemiah Pritchett. I've got a list of pros and cons here. So hopefully by the end of this video, I'll be able to explain why I think this was a steal, why I think this was a great pick, and why I think the Seahawks did a very good job getting this guy in the 5th round. So, Nehemiah Pritchett, I think the number one thing with Pritchett in terms of an asset would be his flexibility. I think this is a player who will be able to do well in all different kinds of defenses. You can have him play zone, and I think he'll be able to cut it. I think he'll be able to get it done. You can have him play man, and I think he'll be able to do it. And obviously, Mike Macdonald, his defense is probably going to be zone heavy because that's what he did in Baltimore. But it's not going to be 100% zone, I'm sure. And who knows where things go over the next decade plus? Who knows what kind of defense we're going to be running in 3 years or 5 years or 8 years or 10 years. Mike Macdonald could end up not cutting the mustard, and then we go get a new coach who runs a man cover scheme, or maybe Macdonald at some point decides to transform his defense into one that uses more man concepts. And we've got a corner here who I think will be able to handle that stuff really well. And it's not just man and zone, it's also press versus off. He can play press. His arm length is not ideal for it, but I think it's good enough. And I think he'll be able to run effective press at the line of scrimmage on receivers at the NFL level. So you are getting somebody who can do a little bit of everything and do it all pretty well. So I think that's going to have a lot of value. Maybe it won't have immediate value because we'll be mostly doing zone, but down the line, it most certainly could. So that's the main thing that drew me to him, his ability to play in all kinds of defenses. I also think that you look at what he did in college, he's clearly meant to be playing on the outside at cornerback, not meant to be a slot corner all that often. He's clearly better on the outside, more comfortable there. He has the height and he has the arm length to do it. It's not ideal. You would prefer somebody a little bit taller and a little bit longer armed, but it's going to get it done. It's going to be okay. It's going to be good enough to get it done. That's the point I'm trying to make here. So, I don't think that you're going to have to force this guy into the slot at the NFL level, which that would greatly diminish his value, I think. Like I said, he should be able to play press man with his ability to jam at the line. It wasn't something he necessarily did a ton in college, but I have every reason to believe that he's going to prove capable of doing it. So that is a positive as well. There have been times in his career where he's proven himself very good at the catch point. He can take away the ball. He can knock the ball away. He's aggressive and well measured at the catch point. He's got aggressive hands, and he's really good at closing at the point of catch. At times, there have been years. We went over it in the previous video. There have been years where the ball production wasn't really there, and there's obviously some degree of inconsistency, but he had a season where he had 10 passes defensed in 11 games. So something is there. Something is definitely there. And you combine that with his really good cover numbers. Clearly, he's capable of playing the ball very well. He just needs to continue to advance in that regard. But you see the potential. He's got great speed and great acceleration. And unlike some players who will have great speed and acceleration just in a straight line, which he does, that speed and acceleration shows up when he's in man defense. When he's tasked with keeping up with a receiver who's going through a route, and he's got to not just run fast in a straight line, he has to change direction. He has to quickly get up to top speed to keep up with a guy who's maybe running a go route, or maybe he has to keep up with him running across the field. He can do that stuff. His speed looks good on the field. His footwork is good. His back pedal is good when he's in his back pedal, when the rep is starting, and he's not yet sure if he needs to turn his back to the line of scrimmage and start sprinting downfield to keep up with the go route, or if he needs to keep his body turned towards the line of scrimmage to go get the underneath route. It looks good. The footwork looks nice. And while he's in his pedal, he's able to stick with his man fairly well. He doesn't allow separation very routinely, which is a big reason why he allows such a low completion percentage when he's targeted. You rarely see him allow separation, and when he does allow separation, he can make up for it pretty quickly. He can get back into the play. He's got a lot going on in terms of his ability to recover with his speed, kind of like Woolen. So he can get beat and get back into it. He can also play aggressively underneath without getting beat over the top. He's somebody who can try to bully a receiver underneath. He's somebody who can try to push a receiver around early in the rep and not worry about getting skunked over the top because he came up too aggressively, because he's got the speed to go get the receiver down the field and even make up for giving up a step or two. So this is a player who I think is going to bring a lot to the table here. He's going to be able to play aggressively underneath while not desperately needing safety help over the top all the time. And that is really what kind of drew me to him. These cover skills are pretty well-rounded. The areas in which he has to get better are pretty clearly, for the most part, in other areas of the game. When he plays soft, and sometimes he does choose to play soft. In fact, I think that Auburn's defense in particular was a defense that had their cornerbacks play soft a lot. He has the acceleration and speed and general ability to play back and then plant and go downhill, quickly getting to the receiver when he starts to break off an underneath route. So he can play soft and get away with it because he's able to get back into the play now. I do think that he plays a little too soft, and I think that has more to do with what Auburn was doing with him rather than something intrinsic with him. But he does have the ability to make up for giving a lot of cushion. He's got good effort. I don't question his effort at all. He desires to become the best player he can. There's nothing here about any kind of like lackadaisical effort or lack of love of football or anything like that. He also does have a little bit of flexibility as a slot corner, although I would caution against leaning on that. Luckily, we don't need to right now. We drafted his teammate, who I do think will probably end up in the slot, and we have a very good slot corner in Devin Witherspoon already on the team. So I don't think we're going to have to lean on that too much, but just be aware that technically he can do it. I would just caution against believing that he can do it at a high level, and I wouldn't be asking him to do something that he's not very good at when I have something that he clearly seems good at. All right, so now we've got some cons, some issues, some concerns that I have with Nehemiah Pritchett. Most of them are in one area, and it can be easily defined, easily explained, easily seen. First of all, he's a little undersized. We start there. He's undersized. He's got above average height and above average arm length, but his 190 is a little underweight. It would not surprise me if he needs to add a little bit of weight in the NFL, but for the moment, he is a little bit of a beanstalk, and that kind of leads to the next thing we're going to get into here. He's not a very good tackler, and most of the concerns with this player are the fact that he's not a very good tackler, and that's something that Mike Macdonald is going to prioritize. That is something that Macdonald really wants his defensive backs to be able to do. He puts them in situations where they need to tackle. If they don't do it, then they give up big plays. So fundamentally, he's not very good at tackling. He dives at ankles a lot. He leads with his shoulder a lot. Just tries to lay a hit, tries to lay a lick on somebody, tries to just trip him up. It's not really form tackling a lot, and that causes a lot of his problems. And when he does tackle somebody, he doesn't hit with a lot of force. It's just kind of, he's just trying to bring the guy down rather than striking him, which does create a lot of yak and extra yard opportunities. Also, beyond just the fact that he's not a very good tackler, he doesn't seem to be a very cerebral run defender. He doesn't attack running plays the way you would like understanding how to fill gaps, understanding how to funnel a ball carrier into the defense. He seems a little bit of a lack of understanding there. It can probably come with time, but as of right now, it's not really there. So the run defense stuff is all around not good enough, and that could definitely be a problem on this team. He is capable of a quick change of direction. I like his change of direction skills overall. Sometimes he seems a little tentative to me. I do wonder if it's because of Auburn's defense playing the way that it did, where everything was just super soft, and you were supposed to give up stuff, some easy stuff, to avoid giving up the big stuff. And overall, over his career, it did work fairly well. But I don't know how much of it is him and how much of it is the coaching. His flipping of his hips is not great when he transitions facing away from the ball to run down the field. I think that his speed allows him to like overcome it, but he doesn't have a super smooth transition when he goes from a forward facing player to a back facing player. So that's not ideal. And the ball production is inconsistent. He has 3 interceptions in 50 career games. He has 24 passes defensed in 50 career games. And overall, there have been moments where he's looked like a ball hawk. Like, again, he had 10 passes defensed in his first full year starting, but it hasn't manifested full time. Like, you look at somebody like a Quinyon Mitchell that had 19 passes defense last year, and you've got Nehemiah Pritchett who has barely more than that in his career over 4 full seasons plus the little bit he played in 2019. It's not the same. So those are the skills that Pritchett is bringing to the table here. Those are my pros and cons. So we're going to do one more video a little later. We're going to do some notes from tape study. See you guys then. Go Hawks. And let me know what you think of this player, because I know I like him more than most people. I know most people didn't feel very strongly about this one. But I do think that this is really good value, and I would be surprised if he didn't become a valuable player on some level for these Seahawks. All right. See you guys in the afternoon. Go Hawks. We're getting near to the end, people. And obviously, as we get deeper and deeper in, there's going to be less and less to say. But I think we're getting a very full picture of what these players are. All right. Go Hawks.